All right. So I want to sit down and talk about Halloween Ends for a while. Um, I would have actually really enjoyed making a formal film review for Halloween Ends, but I just honestly believe it'll take way too long to make. Um, Actually, I'm working on a film review currently that I'm hoping to have out by the first week of November. Um, I've been working on it for quite some time now. Too long, actually. But I'm hoping it'll be good. Uh, I'm gonna rip the band-aid off and jump right into it. I'm disappointed. Extremely disappointed. Halloween Ends was bad. Plain and simple. The writing was bad. The pacing was awful. There were parts during that film where I kind of forgot I was watching Halloween. Um, the one thing I can say that Halloween Ends had going for it was the dialogue was better than Halloween Kills. That's about it. It's equally as terrible, if not worse, than Halloween Kills, in my opinion. Um, if you haven't watched the film and don't want any spoilers, just a heads up, I'm about to start talking about the film, and I don't quite think I'm gonna go too in depth, but I am gonna make what I feel like are valid arguments for why the film is bad. Um, First of all, I don't disagree with the idea of Michael being killed. However, I do aggressively disagree with how his death was executed. Um, Watching it, you wait for what feels like forever for Michael and Laurie to cross paths, while at the same time, the pacing for the film is running at like Mach 10. Um, I mean, not to mention that Michael has maybe a half hour of total screen time in a 1 hour and 50-minute film. There's so much build to this final showdown between Michael and Laurie just to watch them slap fight for 3 minutes before Michael is pinned down by a fridge and killed. Yes, Michael was pinned down by knives too, but Laurie did get help from a fridge. It was irresponsibly anticlimactic and a complete overreach to try and make that moment even remotely meaningful. As if it were courteous enough to give Michael or Laurie a send off. In a way, I guess I can understand it. I guess to make it make sense is to consider the point of the film um, to expose the humanization of Michael. Fear is what makes you weak. Evil isn't powerful without fear. The only problem with that is the $20 million, 1 hour and 46-minute contradiction called Halloween Kills. They create this narrative throughout the entire film in Halloween Kills that Michael is evil, Michael transcends with every kill, Michael is unstoppable. The trilogy is a continuation of the original Halloween. Dr. Loomis says that Michael is not a man. Michael is pure evil. Michael being evil and unstoppable isn't something new. This is something we know. And if you double down on that narrative and then dial back, it makes the entire premise contradictive. And it just doesn't make sense. Michael literally goes from fighting an entire firefighting squad, along with half the town of Haddonfield, And it ends, the guy can barely move. Michael is pathetic through the entire film, and it's almost genuinely sad. I guess the Corey angle was okay, but the whole transferring of evil thing, it really missed the mark in my opinion. Um, if I'm honest, it really wasn't needed. I don't believe that Corey needed the push from Michael to, send him over the edge. With the abuse from the town, it would seem that Corey was going down that path anyway. Um, it could be argued that Michael strategically used Corey to get to Lori, but that doesn't make sense either because, one, as we've already discussed, Michael being weak is already a contradiction of of a narrative that has been pushed aggressively in the past two films. And two, I'm pretty sure Michael could have found Lori pretty well himself, considering he's found who he's wanted to target throughout the last two films perfectly on his own. Um, at honestly, to get a little ahead of myself, at this point, I believe I would have been better off with how things ended at the end of Halloween 2018. Um, David Gordon Green had an interview in which he was essentially told, hey, Michael didn't get very much screen time, and you killed him. That's a pretty big risk. And Green responds, did we? What does that even mean? From my understanding, you're not directing another Halloween film, so what's the point in the Jedi mind tricks? With that answer, I really only see 4 viable scenarios that are able to be picked up from this point if there were to be a continuation for future installments. The first idea I had was it's not really Michael that was killed. They could pull a Halloween Resurrection and claim that Michael gave a random hobo the evil glare and sent him out to kill Lori because he was too weak. The idea is supported by the homeless person Corey stabbed near the sewer or the drain tunnel, whichever you want to call it. He says, did you see the man in there? He takes men there every now and again. Why did he let you live? So it's clear that Michael has been coming in contact with people. So him infecting another person, if not persons, I don't think is too far-fetched of an idea. Might I add, this is a further contradiction of Michael being in a weakened state due to him luring men into the drain and then killing them. At the same time, this could also be considered a stretch because Lori took Michael's mask off before she killed him, so she saw his face and could verify that it was him. Then again, to me, this entire movie is a stretch. The second direction I could see them going would be the Candyman approach. If you've never seen Candyman before, what I mean by this concept is Michael is still alive because we allow him to be. The memory of what he's done still survives through his victims, and this fear allows him to live on, still affecting people's lives through fear. So it could be that this is the end of Halloween, but he lives on symbolically. Another idea, and this one I can actually respect, but I don't think it was actually considered by Green because he's done making the films. But he could be attempting to pave the way for it to happen. And that's basically Halloween merely becoming what it's always intended to be, a series of different stories involving different characters and their experiences with Halloween itself. Um, I don't really see this happening, as Green and others have hinted that Michael isn't dead, but this could just again be a symbolic meaning. At the end of the day, Michael Myers is a moneymaker, and although Michael has been killed in Green's rendition of Halloween, he and everyone else knows that someone else will eventually, someday, be at the helm of writing Halloween movies once again. And lastly, I believe this ending opens up an opportunity to build ideas in reference to the Halloween comics. In the Halloween comics, Michael is essentially cursed by the Thorn cult to be pure evil. And from my understanding, the Myers family name is cursed. So it could be an opportunity for someone in Michael's bloodline to take his place. It's a bit of a stretch, I guess, but I do see this would somehow, in a way, be possible. Another idea that I've actually thought about is Allison becoming a killer. They honestly kind of have the building blocks for this. Just as an example, at the end of Halloween 2018, she's holding the knife. It could also be hinted at with her behavior with Corey and his thoughts on burning down the town and leaving Haddonfield. Um, I don't know. I I don't know how I would feel about that. I think that one would kind of be it would be interesting to see, to say the least. But I could see them going in that direction if there were to be future installments in this storyline. Um, I want to believe that this film wasn't knowingly made bad. I also want to believe that the writers, along with David Gordon Green, were truly trying to bring new, different ideas to the franchise. But to me, I feel like in the pursuit of being different, they've completely missed the mark for the last two films. I feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities. I can understand the direction that they were trying to go. Laurie is no longer afraid to die. She's no longer afraid of Michael and wants to live a happy, comfortable life. The only problem is it didn't fit, and it just doesn't work. Quite frankly, it would seem like they had her character arc backwards. And just as an example, in 2018, she wanted Michael to find her so she could kill him. They went along with this narrative, I feel like, and built from that because they needed a reason for Laurie to seem broken. With the conflict of Laurie seen as unhinged, it was hard for her to be trusted, which created conflict. Laurie tried to make her wrongs right by protecting Karen from Michael and overcoming her fear. They still would have been able to create that narrative had they flipped her character arc, and in my opinion, it would have worked better. As a matter of fact, it would make even more sense for Laurie to want Michael dead after he killed her daughter. I honestly believe like it would have made a much more entertaining conclusion to the trilogy. Um, Laurie's character arc just doesn't make sense, yet they forced it every step of the way. And honestly, that's one issue I've seen in the past two films, is the writing is extremely on the nose, as if they were trying to over-explain the narrative in each film. Um, I honestly would have been able to accept the flaws of Halloween Kills had this film not been so fucking bad. It's exhausting, honestly. I not only feel disappointed, but I feel like I've been taken for a fool, hoping that somehow the little shimmers of greatness that were seen in Halloween 2018 could somehow shine through to these last two films. I probably missed some points here, but these are what immediately comes to mind when I think of the Halloween trilogy. I'd do more digging into these films for a more complex breakdown, but at this point, I kind of just want to forget they exist. Quite frankly, I'm really hoping that no other Halloween films are made. Because if this is what we're going to get, I'd rather have no other films at all.